And now, after years of planning, sweating, and going broke, here is the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
I'll alert the media.
Why they would give this man a podcast is anyone's guess.
Then there is what could only be a bizarre coincidence or something else.
Welcome to the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, sir.
Country music and fine moonshine. Finally, a podcast that lets it all hang out.
Let's level with America.
Got your boots? Ready for some whiskey?
These boots are made for walking.
One of these days, these boots are gonna walk all over you.
And now, the Boots and Whiskey Podcast with Jim Belisle.
Hey everyone, Jim here, Boots and Whiskey Podcast. Welcome. If it's your first time here, welcome. We have Cam Bogle on the show today. If you listen to our Jenny Teeter episode that's also out today, you know that this is an episode that should have come out weeks ago, and I apologize to Cam and his team for it not. I just suck. That's the long and the short of it. So we're not going to dwell on it. Oh, that crap. I don't have the time or the mental space to worry. But thank you for being here. Cam, thank you for your patience. It's a great conversation. Cam's music is great. What Cam's doing in his personal life is great. Everything about this dude is great. Like, he is the real deal. Like, he's the kind, don't tell his girlfriend this, but he's the kind of dude you want to take home to mom. Not me, but if you're a lady. Anyway, I'm going to get canceled eventually. But thank you, Cam, for being here. You're a sweetheart. I love you, brother, and keep doing what you're doing. You're kicking ass, and you're doing one of the most courageous things you could do. So I thank you for that. They'll figure it out. They'll hear it. So thank you for being here. If it's your first time, if it's not your first time, thank you for coming back. Like I said, Jenny Teeter is out today, and there's a ton of other episodes out that I would love for you to hear. So take the time. We appreciate you more than you know. And we'll see you on the flip side of this episode. Cam Bogle, everybody, enjoy. Cheers. So it's fun, man.
I'd say Zach Top is the best in the world right now.
He really is. It's one of those things where it's nice to see, and I know I get shit for this all the time, but it's nice to see like real country music.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and what's crazy too is like, and you think you're good, and then you see people out there like Zach Top, who's 27 years old, and I'm 25, so I got a couple years maybe, but he's breathing the same air as you, and he's ripping on that guitar, hitting those runs like you wouldn't believe. And you're like, gosh dang, I have so much work to do.
but maybe not even, right? Because like I know people that were seeing him, like 2 years ago, and playing the rooms with 30 people in it.
Yeah, that's incredible. Good for him.
So it's one of those things where when these artists that you can see the trajectory going, and they're playing in these smaller places, it's like you can't not see them.
Right.
You know, so
you're paying $200 a couple of years later when you could have paid 10.
Right, exactly. I mean, up here the prices aren't that low, but yeah.
Well, I was gonna see Zach Top, and I was on Ticketmaster, and like I was like, okay, $200, that's all right. And then I clicked on the service fees. I was like, $90. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Ticketmaster just screws everybody.
Yes, sure do.
It's unbelievable. So where are you from?
Where am I from originally?
Yeah.
I was raised up north, and then 3 years ago, I got a job down here as a fireman. So I came down here. My sister came down here first to work for CAA, which is the Creative Arts Agency, which is the biggest one here. And so I followed her down here, got a job here as a fireman, and I've been living here for 3 years now.
Damn.
Yeah.
So how long has music been a thing for you?
So when I was 15 years old, I got my third concussion in hockey. And that was my whole life back then. I grew up dreaming of being an NHL player.
Sure.
And, I'm 6'6", and I'm 250 pounds. So
you're 6'6"?
Yeah, I'm 6'6". So, it could have been a possibility for me. But my cousin made it to the NHL, so I'm living vicariously through him.
Nice.
But so that broke me. I lost my whole identity. And then I discovered singing at a younger age than that, but I really took it seriously when I was 15, and that was the only thing that made me as happy as hockey. So I just kept going with that since.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Let me ask you this, because I work with this kid that he was like the best goalie in our state, right?
Really?
He was like, we live in a town with not a ton of people, and like D1 schools were coming to see him and stuff, and like that was a big deal,
Yeah.
and I don't want to talk too much for him, but like from all accounts, like he had a mental breakdown, like couldn't handle the pressure,
Yeah.
right?
It's a lot.
Now, is that a real thing?
Handling, yeah, for sure it is. You have a lot of people relying on you. Every conversation you have is like, "Oh man, when's your next game? Oh, I
Right.
can't wait till you make the NHL." And then it's a constant mental battle, and not even just from outside. It's a lot of the conversation you have in here with yourself. But you got to keep telling yourself every day, I'm worth it. I'm grateful. I was meant to be here. And I don't know if you're religious, but I am. So I was like, this is God's plan for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I keep telling myself every day to keep going with this career.
Right. I mean, and that's, I think we talk a lot about mental health here, like a lot, because, you have to be a little fucked up to do this kind of thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you do.
Yeah.
But like nobody talks about how lonely it can be.
It sure is, and there's so many. What people don't understand is if you chase the arts, there's so much sacrifice involved. Weekends that you get to hang out with the boys, you're gonna be inside practicing. That trip you wanted to take, well, I just spent $2,200 on my last song, so I can't take that trip. And just all the practice hours you put in rather than spending time with your family. There's so much sacrifice, and people don't recognize that. So when
Right.
people see people get these awards like Jelly Roll up there, who spent the last 40 years or 38 years working towards that, I cried. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
I don't understand what 40 years into this feels like, but at least 10 years I know what it feels like, and it's a lot.
Like I mean, think about it just in your musical journey alone, right? Since you started taking it, seriously. Not that you haven't always, but now that you really have put in the effort, right? Think about how much you've sacrificed just that alone. Forget about being a firefighter, right? Because that's a different sacrifice on a total different level. But like, and I know, this is just a stupid podcast, right? But like, I
It
can
seems
even
hard.
say it. Like, being on this island, you feel all alone, regardless of how much support you have or not.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. One song can do super successful, and you're like, all right, here we go.
Yep.
And the next song can actually tank, and then you're
Yep.
like, gosh dang, I guess no one cares. And then you're back, you feel like you're alone again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that happens like crazy. Or you put a couple hours into a TikTok, you post it, doesn't do nothing for you, and then you're like, dang, like, do I want to wake up tomorrow and then spend another 2 hours, and that might not even, nothing might not even happen with that.
Right.
Right before COVID, I made about 500 videos on TikTok. None of them got over 10,000 views, not a single one. But I just remember hearing, Mr. Beast at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he follows me on Instagram, which I don't even know why, but just he follows 500 people. I couldn't believe it. So he said he posted over like 900 videos before his first one went viral. So that's what I constantly had in my head. I'm like, just one of these will take off. So one day I moved to Buffalo at the time, and I hopped in my car and I sang. I think I sang a Brett Young song, and I posted it in my car. I was like, this is sort of low quality, but whatever, I'll just post this. It got 300,000 views. I was like, what? This is it. So I kept doing that for 3 more months every day. I did 3 videos a day, and I got 300,000 followers just off that. So when you think like, I should just quit now. Like, just keep going, and something great's going to happen of it.
Yeah.
Something has to happen.
It's almost like the law of averages, where it's it just it's funny because like when I have these conversations, so like I got diagnosed with adult ADHD like 2 years ago.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I've always had it apparently, and it actually makes a lot of things make sense.
It's good for podcasting, I think.
Right. But like, you stop and you think about it, or I stop and I think about it, and it's like, all of these things I ever did or didn't do or started and never completed, like I always thought like I was just fucking up. And sorry, we swear. I mean, I'm a New Englander.
Right,
That's all we
I
do.
don't know.
And they're commas. But it's like you think that you have something wrong with you. For all this time, and you just don't realize that, oh, it was just something you didn't know how to manage.
Right.
And it's not that you're fucking things up. I mean, you probably are. You might be. But, there's a reason why all of these things happen the way they did. And it's like, I'm pushing 40, and I am, I've been doing this podcast now for 4 years, and it's, there's days, right? There's days where it's like, this is the greatest thing. I want to continue to do this. And then there's other days where you're like, fuck this. I don't have the energy for this anymore.
Right. Well, there's something inside you that's driving you to do this, and I love your podcast, dude, and what you're doing is really great. Thank you for giving artists like me a platform. Like, it
Hell
means a
yeah,
lot
man.
to us. You don't understand the difference that you make, so keep doing this,
Well,
please.
I don't know if you've ever listened to an episode or not, but like, I famously have always said, like, when people come on, I don't really care about the music. Like, I love the music. I love what you're doing. I think you're doing a great job at it. But to me, it's more important to more or less get your story, like as you as a person, rather than, I wrote this song about an ex-girlfriend, like, great. You and everybody else, right? But like,
Yeah.
why is your story special? Because everybody's story is special. It's important to get those stories out.
Sure. And let me go back to something you said earlier about your ADHD. And you might think that's your biggest weakness, but I think it's your greatest strength. I mean, the fact you're going to keep thinking of things to say, and you have so much energy right now, and I love it. And it just makes me think like I was singing really songs that were super high up before puberty. Tons of songs. I could sing every song super high up.
Right.
And then I hit puberty, and all that changed. My voice dropped like really low. Like my voice dropped so low, and I thought it was the end of the world. I'm like, I can't sing a single song anymore. But then that became what I thought was my biggest weakness was my greatest strength, because now I post these songs that are different than everyone else. Well, not different than everyone else, but like songs like Josh Turner and Scotty McCreery post and Dylan Scott that are really low. It's now my biggest strength, and people appreciate my voice for that reason. When I thought the fact that my voice was so low and I couldn't sing high songs anymore, I thought that was hindering on me. But really, it's to my advantage. So your ADHD might be the greatest thing that's happened to you for this podcast.
I mean, I don't know if I would tell my ex-wife that, but it's definitely become a strike. That's for sure. But yeah, I mean, for me, the kind of sound that I like in country music, like that lower octave, that's to me like real country music.
Yeah.
Even if it is radio friendly, and I shit on radio a lot because it's fun and easy and it gets clicks, right?
Yeah.
But like, the Scotties of the world and the Josh Turners of the world and all that, like those songs are timeless. And a lot of it has to do with their voice.
Yes, for sure. Yeah. And I think that every genre evolves over time. Like, people aren't really making music like Michael Jackson did anymore, pop. And you know what I mean? And I think there's a time and place for every subgenre of country too. If I'm at a party, I don't want to hear. Zach Bryan does have some upbeat songs, but he's a lot of slow songs. And I don't want, when I'm at a party, I don't know if I want to hear that. But when I'm at a party,
Speak for yourself, Cam.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get my emotions if I start listening to Zach Bryan at a party while I'm drinking beer, if I'm at a party and dang Luke Bryan comes on, that's awesome. But if I'm driving my car alone after work or a tough shift, I'm putting on some Zach Bryan,
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm gonna feel that.
Absolutely. Or if you're driving down somewhere and there's a bunch of hot girls, you're gonna roll down the windows and put Luke Bryan on and be like, "Yeah, I'm cool." Just how it's gonna work.
It on Morgan Wall.
Yeah. So when you were so you're from New York?
No, I'm actually from Canada. Well, I was born in Portland, Maine, and then I was raised in Canada for a lot of years, and I moved back down here 3 years ago.
Okay, all right.
Crazy.
So are you guys nicer than us? Is that true?
Here's what I'll say about Americans, which I like. I like people with strong opinions. Americans definitely.
I can't wait for this. This is gonna go viral here, Kim.
And I like people who say what's on their mind, and it makes it easier. You know what you want from them. You know what they want, and it just makes life a lot simpler being around somebody who sort of sets their boundaries right away. Not even boundaries, but just like says what they mean and mean what they say.
Sets the tone real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Up north, they'll reserve some of that stuff, and there's a time and place for that too. I mean, you can't just be mean right away. But
True. So,
yeah,
how were you an adult when you came to the States, or?
Yeah, so I lived in Buffalo when I was 21, and then I moved back up north for a little bit. I finished fire school, and then I came back down here 3 years ago.
Okay. Now, This is going to sound really stupid. Is there a difference between firefighter training in Canada than it would be in the States?
No, there isn't. There's just a difference between every department. So some departments are a lot more safety oriented. our department is very citizen first. So we're trained really well. So, but we're gonna go into a fire rather than stand on the outside of a fire, just attack from the outside. Because
Right.
we have the equipment to. What's the point of being a fireman and you have all this equipment if you're not going to go into a fire?
Right.
And it makes this job way more thrilling too. I've been in a lot of scary situations so far. But yeah, we're here to save people, so we're gonna do the necessary means to do that.
Yeah, I've before even the country music thing and all that, like first responders have always been near and dear to me. We um from where I live, I'm about 25 minutes south of Worcester, Massachusetts, where, we had one of the most deadliest firefighter fires, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago now. It's been a while, you know, in the city of Worcester. And those sorts of things hit you, regardless if have somebody or a family member that's a firefighter or not. Like that shit will rock a community,
Right.
and like, I've had family members that have been firefighters. I mean, around here, you're going to brush fires, and you may save a kitten from a tree or something. But but those guys and girls, you guys work your ass off. It's not for the faint of heart. That's for sure.
It's cool. It's something that can change you just from one call. One call can definitely change your personality.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple tough calls, and luckily I have a great crew, so we were able to talk about it and come to terms with what we just saw or what we just did. But you can leave your family one morning. You might not come back home that night, or sorry, the next day, because they're 24 to 48-hour shifts. You might not come back home, or you'll leave as one person, you'll come back another. And so that's what people don't understand. It's scary. It's very scary.
Now, do you mind if we jump into that?
Sure.
All right. Because I mean, whatever you want to do. I mean, this is how the show is, right? Now, I don't know what your like relationship status is or anything like that. You don't have to get into that if you don't want to. But like, does that having a career like that? How much does that kind of, I don't want to say mess with relationships like that, like wives, girlfriends, kids, whatever,
Sure.
whatever.
Luckily, my lady's a nurse, so
Okay.
we have a very similar job, and I thank God we do. It'd be very awkward dating someone who wasn't involved in this type of stuff,
right,
and wouldn't understand it at all.
Right.
So she's a very easy person to talk to you about that, and I'm really grateful for her.
Yeah.
But if I did have someone who was a nurse, I couldn't really. I could tell them about my day, but I don't think they'd fully understand it and be able to sort of understand what I was going through. And it's okay. Like, I'm not, looking for a pity party every time you come home, because most days are amazing.
Right.
Most days rock. But for those hard days that come along, those rainy days, you would have to have a really good crew. And I've got a great chaplain at work. If I ever need a prayer or something, I can give him a ring and he can help me out. Luckily, he's my captain too, so that works out.
I mean, but you're absolutely right. Like, you can't. I know, I'm sure a lot of people know from experience, just listen to this. Like, it's hard to make a connection with somebody if they don't get it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, whatever your job, career, whatever is, like, that's what you're doing to provide. Like,
Yeah.
Girls
and a lot of times you just need space and time to heal from things. Like, if I come home one day, I want some alone time for probably a couple hours to regroup. And then I can join the world again.
Yeah. No, dude. Like, that's. I can't tell you how much that resonates, because it's like I used to be that person, or I am that person now, and I didn't realize it. Where like I needed time after work, and I've never done anything like that. But you need that time. You need that buffer.
Yeah.
And if people don't get that, it's hard. It's really, really hard.
I totally agree with you.
So with your experience firefighting and everything else, like, how does that dictate your music?
So I've been in some relationships in the past, or at least some short-term things where, a lot of those things have inspired my music. And now some of the newer stuff was from some new relationships I was in, and now I've been in a relationship for a while now. So that's where this room came from. I wrote that about her and about our experiences together. Too Many has nothing to do with firefighting. Too Many is just it's just a drinking song.
Yeah.
And, we do. I live in Nashville, so at my age, that's at any age, that's what you do around here.
Right. That's true.
I think when you're around like really any age, this is the greatest place to live. It's the entertainment hub of the world, except for LA, Atlanta, and stuff. But I absolutely love it here, and I would never go back to any of the places I've lived. This is great.
Yeah,
I've had friends come down and like, man, I don't really want to leave. I'm like, I know, man, this is the best.
right. Well, like that's I haven't been down there in God almost 7 years now, and just from the conversations I've had with people, like the last 7 years, it's changed so much. I can only imagine what
Yeah.
it's actually like now.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people talk to me. They're like, I really like you, but I just wish people didn't move here. So many people have moved here now. It's just changed.
Right. Right.
I was like, ouch.
Well, like, I'm not even sure it's just that. I think it's when people that are from there and have lived there their whole lives and are used to a slow pace, and then you get people from all over the country just piling into your city,
Yeah.
like I'm sure that's going to be frustrating.
For sure. And like up in Canada, growing up, maybe I'm viewing the world this way because I was in the hockey realm growing up. But whenever I went outside in wintertime and I drove past ponds, they were always filled with kids. And as I grew up, I noticed there were no ponds with no kids on them. And maybe that's just now every kid's on an iPhone or something, or an iPad, or kids aren't as interested in doing these sports. I'm not sure. But that's just growing up. That's one thing I've noticed as well.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. My parents and I were talking about it the other day, and when I was a kid, I was in everything. I played baseball most of the year, right? And now, my oldest biological child, he plays soccer for some reason, and they could barely field teams this year.
Whoa.
And it's like, what the hell is going on?
I agree with you. It's crazy. You said he's like 15 or 16?
My oldest biological child is almost 10.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I have a stepson who just turned 15, and my youngest will be 6 at the end of the year.
Awesome.
And they're nonstop. My oldest plays football, and that's interesting in and of itself.
For sure.
And then my youngest, he just wants to play baseball like Daddy did. So it's like it's crazy. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to do it all.
Yeah. They'll look back and appreciate it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think about it all the time. Like, I'm an only child, and, my parents were there for everything, and I just wish I would have been a better ball player, I think. Maybe I could have.
Not everyone makes it to that MLB.
Right. But baseball's baseball's hard,
For sure.
It's not ice hockey. But
hey, you guys get paid more.
That's true. That's true. We're way bigger bitches though than hockey players.
Well, a baseball hitting your thumb, that would hurt anyone.
Yeah, but you're getting run over by 6'6" dudes on skates. That in itself has to be the scariest thing ever.
I don't know. I've got hit 3 times really bad. Those are my 3 concussions in a year. Because talking about like growing up, my siblings did speed skating, figure skating, and so they were both speed skaters at the time. And I was like, dang, I want to do speed skating while playing hockey. And when you speed skate, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but you bend over so you can be as aerodynamic as possible. So I started doing that in my hockey. And so I was getting close to the boards, completely bent over because I was trying to be quick and out of habit because of speed skating. And I'd get hit from behind and my head would be thrown into the boards, right at the boards directly. So that sort of killed my hockey career because I tried to do speed skating, basically.
Right. So if you're 6'6" on skates, you got to be what? 7 feet tall?
I'll probably at least 6'8".
Really?
Yeah.
But still, 6'8". That's fucking huge.
But they grow big here, They grow big, so I don't even feel tall here.
What's that?
I don't even feel tall here because they grow big. I don't know what they're feeding everyone around here, but like my crew I just worked with yesterday, 6'3", 6'7". I was like, dang, I feel short right now.
Jesus. Yeah, no, compared to you, I'm like a midget. I'm 5'7" on a good day. I'm like 5'8" or 5'9" in my boots.
Oh, you'll get there eventually. Don't
No,
worry.
I won't, dude. I'm 38 years old. I'm all done. I'm all done. The only way I'm growing is out now at this point.
Oh, come on.
Um, yeah, dude. I, it's funny because like you're right though. Like they are getting taller because I'll stand in crowds now and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, can you like move so the short guys can see? And
Yeah,
it's
and honestly, I think about that a lot when I go to concerts. If I'm going with my siblings or anyone, like I'll always get a spot at the back because I feel horrible about blocking anyone because
yeah,
concerts are not cheap anymore. I went
no,
to one up north, and there was a little girl directly behind me, and ever since then, I've been sitting in my chair if there's anyone behind me. I can't block anyone's
yeah.
experience.
Now let me ask you. Speaking of seat, do you prefer a seated show like where you have a seat, or do you prefer a general admission, get there and fight the crowds kind of?
I like a seated show, but I don't like sitting at it. So I like that you have like your own respectable spot,
Right,
but I'm not gonna sit there unless there's somebody short by me. But
right.
like, we go to a lot of rock concerts, and so I need that room to jump.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Bridgestone is here, so you have your little seated area
That's true.
too.
That's true. Yeah, like tonight's Zach show, like I had an option of sitting in a seat or having a seat, and then sitting on the or being on the floor, and it's like I think I need to be on the floor. Like I need to
Yeah.
be as close as possible to that.
Do you go crazy during a concert?
Um, so I don't think the people I go to concerts with like going concerts with me
Why is that?
because I am in like doing this and posting about it on social media and doing reviews and all that. Like I'm there I'm there to enjoy it, but I'm also there to work, you know? So I'm in that like I'm very focused, very like, it's like being at work. I love it, but it's like being at work. So like I get into it and like people I'll go with, they're like, "Are you having fun?" I'm like, "I'm having a great time." They're like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah."
Oh,
I just,
yeah,
I'm taking it in.
that's
There's
totally
very
fair.
Yeah, and there's very few shows lately that like I go and get like rowdy at.
Okay. Do you have any beers?
Do I have any beers?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. Actually, usually I go in with the buzz,
Yeah, there you go.
and then
You're
that way
saving
I
money
can
on your
kind of like
$16 beers.
right. And up here, fucking beers are like $20 a piece. So
Oh wow!
yeah, it's
They,
expensive.
I don't know if you know the company Voodoo Rangers, but they have them down here, and they're about 9.5% for some of them. So you have a couple of those, and the music sounds so good,
Yeah,
and that's what I like to do.
yeah, it's definitely the way to go. Especially I drink a lot of whiskey, so like to drink whiskey at a venue, it doesn't make sense. It's like you're getting actually 2 ounces and
Yeah,
it's $12 and it's like give
no,
me a
no,
break.
give me the bottle.
Right. I'll drink half a handle at home and then have a good time.
Jeez, there you
No, not that bad. But
go.
so what else you got going on? I mean your music is awesome. It really is.
I
You're welcome.
appreciate it.
You know
I'm trying. So I have a show coming up. Actually, I'm going back to Toronto on the 9th to perform at the Rivoli for the Departure Festival. I've sold a lot of tickets for that, which is really exciting that people want to see me. I'm going back home. Going to see a lot of familiar faces there. I'm really grateful for that. And then afterwards, I'm coming back down here on the 21st. I have one at Live Oak, which is the Big Daddy Showcase.
Yeah.
And I've got some important people coming to that show, so I really got to kill it there. But I've got the best musicians ever, so I'm feeling ready. I've been practicing a lot.
That's
I'm
awesome.
excited for 'em.
Now, what about with your firefighter schedule and what you're trying to do with the music industry? Like, how are you balancing that?
It's trying to pursue anything and then also working a job is very difficult.
Yeah.
I picked a great job for that, and also I just absolutely love my job. So I work a 48-hour shift, and then I have 2 days on, 4 days off. So I live there for 2 days, and then I live at home for 4 days.
Oh, okay.
So during those 4 days, I'm working out and doing my singing stuff, and I'm just going back to work. And luckily, the guys at the fire hall really support me. So if I needed to, step away from them there. Like if we're not on a call, I can step away there and like do a call with somebody that's important, or maybe write a song for a bit by myself. It's 48 hours, so you can have your little alone time too.
Right, right, right. And like, so you're a Nashville firefighter?
No, I'm in Rutherford County.
Okay, all right. So is
Yeah.
that how they do it?
No, no, not everyone. It's usually 24/48. So
No, I meant like the fire departments, because like up here, like each town, each city has
sure.
their own.
So there's Davidson County, which is the Nashville covers all them, and then underneath is Rutherford County.
Okay.
And there's cities inside like Murfreesboro, and they have their own fire department, but we're on the outskirts.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, cover
All
the
right.
boonies.
Gotcha. So like if your city or town isn't big enough for like its own fire department, you guys cover that.
No, we have our respected districts between the two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it
See,
works.
like that's all foreign to me. Like we don't do anything out here by county or anything like that. Like we have
Okay.
counties, but like I think it's just out of.
There might be some volunteer stations out there possibly that you don't know about.
Oh yeah, no, we have a lot of volunteer stations. A
Yeah.
lot.
Because people live everywhere and they need your help for sure.
Yeah. I'm blown away by you, Cam.
And the cool thing I love about county firefighting is because when we go on calls, it's not like a 15-minute adventure where I'm driving 3 minutes down the road to your house. We're driving anywhere from 2 minutes to 25 minutes out there, and then so each call is almost an hour long. And if we're on a fire, because we cover such a large area, when we're on a fire, if we go in, it could be another 10 to 15 minutes before the next crew shows up, or like I'd say 5 to 10 minutes. So you're in a fire alone, and it feels really thrilling compared to if you're a city fireman. You get into a fire, there's going to be tons of firemen there in a second because there's so many different fire halls in one city.
Damn.
Yeah.
So what made you want to do that?
I saw they had a very good video. So I was like, I really want to work for them, and there was a spot open. I love
awesome.
it. It's
That's
the best.
great. That's great. So, God, firefighter, musician, fucking former hockey player. Like, is there anything you can't do?
There's a lot I can't do. There's so much. don't say that. I'm brutal. There's tons I can't do.
All right, I'll take your word for it because you're doing some of the hardest shit ever.
Oh, thank you. I'm
You're
trying.
welcome, man. And you're doing it well too, man. Like,
Nice. There's one life, so I gotta try to live it up as much as I can and use whatever God gave me.
that's true. That is very, very true. So when it comes to your music, what do we got to look forward to for the rest of the year?
Well, what's really cool is, you think that you do some things in your life, and you're like, what was the point of that? So when I finished playing hockey, and after we spent all this money on hockey, I was thinking like, all those years, all those hours my mom drove me, all the financial sacrifices, like, gosh, that sucks. Then later on in my life, when I moved down here, I joined a hockey team. And guess who is on the hockey team? Morgan Wallen's producer, Joey Moy, is on the hockey team. He's my captain. And everyone who writes for Morgan Wallen is on the team too. So I'm literally on the hockey team with the best writers in Nashville. Which is crazy. I was like, I guess this is God's plan. He made me a hockey player, so I come down here and get connected with these guys. So that, I'm talking to them a lot, and I've been doing tons of writers rounds. I've been doing a lot of shows now, and a bunch of people have been coming out, maybe from my TikTok following or maybe my Instagram, where they just heard my music on a playlist. And my career's been growing a lot, and people are starting to hear my name, which feels really good. And I've been getting on podcasts like yours, and I'm really appreciative of you. So thank you.
No problem. So like, we know how this industry can be. Like, you could be doing this today, and then tomorrow you could be fucking opening for who knows who on the biggest tour in the world, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Have you ever right? Have you ever thought of what will I do with my firefighting career if this really takes off?
Yeah, I get asked that a lot from my buddies too, and I love it. I love it like crazy. If I didn't do singing and all I did was firefighting, I'd still be super happy. But I just love both, and I got to do something on my 4 days off, so that's why I sing. It was my first passion in life before firefighting, so I'm gonna try my best. Sorry, it says reconnecting here. Give it a second.
Yeah, it comes and goes.
Okay. If I got on tour and started making some good money, I might have to say goodbye to them. But if my chief were to allow me to, do both and come back whenever my tour was over and maybe volunteer there, I'd happily do that as well. Because we do have we have a couple volunteers, so I would love to do. I would love to do both. Oh, hello. We're back.
Yep.
We're back.
It's the Wi-Fi around here is like depends on how the wind blows out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you don't know which day it's gonna work.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You must have some rough weather. We just had tons of tornado warnings over the last two months. It's been crazy.
Yeah, you guys have been getting your ass kicked weather-wise.
For sure. Luckily, it hasn't affected us too much at work yet, but the weather's getting pretty wild.
Yeah, we used to get snow quite a bit, and knock on wood, we haven't. Our winters lately have been really mild. We might get a storm or two a year, but it's been cold. Like it gets cold.
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
I could do without the cold, but
I like there's a reason why I like the cold better is because down here, like in the cold, you can do something about it. I could throw on an extra layer, but in the heat, there's only so many layers you can take off.
That's true.
Like a nude beach.
That's true.
So it gets hot. It gets hot down here. It got to like 110 last summer. I was like, golly,
Yeah. Yeah, that's like it gets hot here, but it's like a humid hot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very like wet and very right, which is gross. But it is what it is.
For sure.
It's home. I guess it's home. But but Cam, I like I said, I love what you're doing. I can't thank you enough for taking the time and shooting the shit and getting to know one another, and
For sure, and thank you for having me on here at the time of my life.
Yeah,
really
anytime, man. Anytime you got something going on, let us know and we'll get it out.
I will. I appreciate you a lot, seriously.
Yeah, man. Same. All right. Have a good day, buddy. Thank you.
You as well. Have a good one. Cheers.
Well, there you have it, everybody. Our conversation with Cam. Cam, again, we are so fortunate here to talk to people that are genuinely great human beings, and Cam is no exception to that. I thought about what I said at the beginning of the episode. Although funny, don't take me too seriously because I'm just a mess out most of the time. So, cheers to you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Cheers, guys.